Hey guys, Michael here from Conversations with a Recovering Loan Officer, and I'm joined today by Tawd from HomeIQ. That's not your identity though. I mean, that's just where you work.
I've now changed my full name to Tawd Frensley from HomeIQ. It's a government change. Did that.
The legal name change.
Yeah, legal name change.
Nice. So give us a little bit about your background. Who are you and what are you doing today?
So number one, I'm not going to really talk about our technology. I don't think talking about our technology on this is appropriate. I work at HomeIQ, like my HomeIQ. If you want to check it out, that's by all means. But today I think I've been in this space a very long time. I know I have a child's voice. It's very clear. I am 42 years old. There's a lot of gray happening. There's no hair happening, hence the bucket. But by 13 years of real estate software sales and marketing. So my previous company, Media Boost, we had agents across the country, doing websites, CRM, SEO management, trying to understand consumer behavior. And so we assembled a product that an agent could, adopt, utilizes their internet presence and also, staying connected to their clients, providing value along the way. So with that being said, I've spoke to north of 20,000 realtors, a lot of agents, different degrees of realtors who are wildly successful and agents who weren't.
Yeah.
Right. So, coming into, joining HomeIQ, I partnered with HomeIQ. Before I left, actually, it was kind of like that partnership, kind of funny because it made me really want to leave and join, because I love the vision and I love the effect and the side effects of this product actually had. And so came over, and this is where we are now. The last 9 months, really last 9-10 months or so, as the market started to shift, and I'm still having the same amount of conversations with people, talking to 150, 200 loan officers a month, just kind of depends on the month. And not only kind of explaining our product and how to manipulate this environment and use this to your advantage, but also absorbing things that they're saying and the challenges that they're facing, so that kind of presumably, numerous people are probably being faced with the same challenges. And it's kind of, how can we use our system and to address some of those things and give you some insight that maybe, leading into it, you don't really have. So anyways, that's why we're here, right? We're just talking about what people are facing and, maybe different vantage point that you haven't really considered yet. You can kind of talk about some of our tech and what it does for you, but they want this to be a sales opportunity for us at all. I just thought this is a really cool concept. And so I asked you if I could attend, because, my ideology has actually changed a lot, over the last, 6-7 months of just really absorbing what's been going on. So
When you said you've talked about 20,000 or so real estate agents.
It's too many. Let's be honest here. That's so many. Some of those conversations, you're like, wow.
Is that where your hair went?
Yeah. It was just, I just started falling out in clumps, on my keyboard. It was just all right, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here.
I was married to one for 14 years, and that's where my hair went. So can't imagine talking to 20,000 of them.
It's just so insane. So insane. Yeah, it was, it's cool though. The experience, I think I have an advantage in the fact that our product is a collaborative piece of software that you can give to realtors, right? But knowing what an agent brings to the table and also knowing how to get an agent's attention, right? So I can help the loan officer with their scripting and saying hey, I know agents' reaction points, right? Which is opportunity of gain and fear of loss. You can identify those two things in one conversation. Probably going to have really easy time bringing agents on board. So I know that it's been a benefit to where I am now, but I am wildly grateful that my sole purpose in life is now talking to loan officers. I truly love it. You guys, it's a different mindset, different work ethic, treating it like a business, not as a hobby, investing in themselves. It's all the things that I value, right? And that work ethic. I work 12 hours a day. So, somebody who's grinding and making things happen. Yeah. I love it. I love talking to loan officers so much more So in 13 years from now, when I've spoke to 20,000 loan officers, I won't have that same
You hope.
smirk on my face, right? Yeah, so it'll be different.
Well, what is that then today, right? I mean, you're talking to loan officers, you've talked to these real estate agents. What is the easy answer here, Todd, would be like HomeIQ, right?
Mm-hmm.
But without going the easy way, what is it that a real estate agent wants?
This is like, say, outside of technology, right? Let's say HomeIQ doesn't exist, no CRMs exist. Like, you're just in it, you got an Excel file in front of you, and you have a phone. What would you do? And that's how you should treat it. If you didn't have any of this other stuff, what would you do? If internet crashed, it was like, all right, I still need to do some business. What the hell would you do? So you better pick up the phone. And I go, you look at relationship degradation, and like the peak of the relationship is during the buying process, right? That's the most amount of interaction, realtor, loan officer. So realtor, like leading up to the offer, that's a ton of interaction. Then during the loan process, realtor relationship kind of starts to slow down because there's not as much interaction. It's all off site now. Once a person gets the keys, that relationship begins to erode, right? And there's an absolute zero over the course of time. So if you send nothing to a client, don't expect, repeat business from them 4 years from now. So obviously we now know that CRMs need to be in play and automation and trying to stay as relevant as possible and as viable as possible over a period of time. But after a 2-year mark, like if agents don't do this, it's crazy. But after 2 years, or 1 year or 2 years, you actually don't physically speak to your client. You're dropping the ball, right? And that's something that you can control. So there is and unfortunately, I'm going to have to mention something about our product because it does support what I'm saying. But everybody said this blanket wise, like, oh, the market cycles every 7 years, right? You're like, yeah, people buy and sell every 7 years. If you went off of that solely, you would miss out on so much opportunity because the market cycles based off of down payment and equity growth. And that's where our predictive analytics really come into play, because it's like, say, everybody on this call, right? I'll give you one little fun fact for yourself that you could do right now would be this. The most probable and consistent seller in the U.S. is a 3% to 5% down payment. They will sell their house 2.7 to 3.3 years from their purchase date. Reason being, what they bought was not what they wanted, it's what they could afford. So if you have somebody that you did a loan for 2.5 years ago that put down $8,000, and that $8,000 has turned into something, they've absolutely paid very close attention to that number, right? They've looked on Zillow numerous times, or Redfin or Realtor.com, wherever they're checking, monitoring that as an investment that's physically growing in front of them, because they scraped up $8,000 and now their $8,000 is worth $150,000. Now, your approach to this individual would be, is there equity that they would have in their house after selling enough to put something as a down payment on a property that's better than what they have? If it's a yeah, then do yourself a favor and reach out to that client, because here's the fall off with anything. The fall off is that person is leisurely looking at homes for sale as a form of entertainment. They go somewhere on the weekend. They go, oh, that place is really cool. I was like, oh, we could live there. Could we live there? Go and look up homes for sale, seeing what homes are selling for. You're like, oh, look at this one. There's a lot of sharing of listings back and forth between partners, right? Partners, husbands, wives, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So now, something hits the market that's perfect. Just right in front of you. Right price, right condition, right size, right neighborhood. Fear of loss, impulse, and instant gratification. Human emotion that takes over. And what happens next is that client is most likely reaching out to the listing agent. It's the path of least resistance, the intrinsic laziness of humankind to get information in the fastest time possible. They want to know about it. They want it. They don't want to miss out on it. People aren't going to prove loyalty by digging through months of emails, right? To go back in time to find your contact information. Too many steps, right? So what can you control? Well, you cannot control where they're looking. Zillow, Redfin, they have it on lock. There's no MLS search. There's no website that can pop up, no new company that could take that away from people, because people are creatures of convenience. They've been looking on those portals entirely too long. They know where everything is. They're an expert at it. They're not going to delete it. If you spend $500,000 on a mobile application, like my past company did, and you have 1% of your client base adopting it, that's a problem. And also a huge waste of money, because it's just, you cannot take that away from somebody. It is the least abandoned app on the known planet, Zillow and Redfin. People are just, it doesn't matter. It's like, you look at it, it's like during the buying process, this person was physically sharing listings with their client, with their realtor. I want to see this one. Even if that realtor set up listing alerts for that buyer and is sending them homes. What about this one? About this one? Like, they don't open it, but they're like, hey, I want to go see this one. You're like, hey, dummy, I sent this to you this morning. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just like, it is what it is. They buy the house. They're not deleting it. They're just using it different. Now it is a education source, their biggest investment. Let's track and monitor this thing. It's there to know how to use it. Hey, what about homes in this area? And all of a sudden, something's there. It's perfect. So what can you control is your relationship. And that's the whole thing. So with our predictive analytics and your tracking module and saying, hey, this is a client who's in a position right now to buy something that's better than what they have. Here's their down payment. Here's their loan amount. Was this house what they wanted or what they could afford? It was what they could afford. Are they in a different position now? Have they made more money? When's the last time I spoke to this person? Like, they're looking at this report 3 or 4 times per month. Equity obsession, seller indicative behavior. They have enough down payment. Their next purchase isn't going to have PMI. If you don't call this person, you legitimately hate money. But at that point, it's like, you need to reach out to that client because it's a matter of time. It is the most abrupt and sped up time frame is a lower the down payment. So a 20% down payment is going to live in that house much longer than a low down payment. 10%, 15, it's all like, they're all different. The type of the property, the size of the property, all of those things are all interconnected. So when you have like our predictive analytics running on these people, you don't have to just solely go off of that because it's their views of this thing. But also it's like, yeah, these statistics are like not 100% accurate. We're 72% accurate. But if you have like a client that says they're 20% likely to sell, but you look at their equity, you look at their house online, you're like, oh man, well, they picked up some value. Yeah, they're in a different position. Like, hey, this thing was a really good investment for them. What's the next step? Well, let's find out. If you want that next loan, their next purchase is going to require a loan. If you want it, like, yeah, you need to interact with this client. It's just like, you have to do it. So like, almost pretend that automation doesn't exist. And like, what would you do? Go back in time. Because like 30, 40 years ago, yeah, that's all you had was a phone and like snail mail. And the phone call and the human voice has the longest lasting effect. So if you like a text message, email, social media post, mindset time frame is like 3 days. That's about as long as that's going to last. But the human voice lasts 37 days. So keep that in mind. Like, if you want your clients to remember you, emailing cookie recipes is not cutting it. And I know some of your realtors are probably sending out those sweet grandma's cookie recipes and it's just not flying, right? Technology is so much better, but like content has stayed the same. So what can you control, right? It's like, you have to guide these people. And it's like, yeah, like, you know, think of like the panic that a buyer's facing, or a homeowner that's like, oh yeah, okay, rates are up now, I guess we're going to stay in this thing. And it's like, oh no, like, rates are higher, but they're not forever, right? It's not a forever thing. Like, they're going to go back down, but also the market softened up a little bit. So something that maybe a bit of out of reach a year ago is now obtainable. And let's make sure that it's just, I don't know, man. I think it's like, I've just been having these conversations so much with people, and it's like, I'm trying to figure out ways with our system to like, so that it's covering multiple angles. It's not just like, oh, you give this to a realtor and you get to like co-market with them. It's like, no, there's like, forget it. Let's forget that agents, like, you can even give agents this technology for free. Let's just forget it. Like, what can this do right here? And I'm like, the most valuable thing I think is the ability to pivot and the ability to see something before it happens. And if you're giving yourself a window of time, and if a decision is coming down the barrel, you have 6 months before that actually takes hold, then you have 6 months to reconnect with a client that you serviced 3 years ago, right? And to go bring them back in, make them feel that loyalty to you, that you're going to guide them down this path of home ownership. And yeah, all of that's like, that's what you can control. And it's like, I just putting a lot of emphasis on that. Because I think personally, I just think it matters. I think the relationship side of things is so important, because it's like, I felt it. You know, I mean, I felt like my loyalty to an individual caused me to reach out to them, you know, wanting to get information because I want them to do well. And so, but like, I still needed that information. I still wanted to see inside this house, but I go, yeah, look, if I don't have that sense of loyalty to my loan officer and my realtor buddy, yeah, then it's like the path of least resistance. I just want information. It doesn't matter how I get it. I just want it. That's humankind. But it's like the loyalty, that affinity to that individual, that's what you can control. So,
and loyalty is becoming harder to kind of obtain today because of how available free information is online.
Yeah.
And so like you'd mentioned like 30, 40 years ago, back in the day, they used to have these massive books of listings.
Yeah.
And in a real estate agent's job, like 40 years ago, what I heard, because, you know, I am 40, but I wasn't obviously in the mortgage industry when I was 40 years ago or selling homes. But what I heard was that most real estate agents, they only worked in particular neighborhoods. They became experts at like this 5-block radius. And everybody in those neighborhoods knew who they were. They would deliver cookies to them every Christmas. They would work their area.
Yeah.
And before the listings hit the market, they would know about them. And then they would go to their pool of buyers who wanted to buy in that area, and they would have those listings available as pocket listings to sell. Yeah. But now the information is out there online, and that it's been commoditized, just like the mortgage industry, just like, you know, the real estate. You know, there's even technology companies trying to open houses for people now. And it's only going to become more of that. But I think what you're alluding to, Todd, is that people are hungry for a trusted advisor, but they're used to going and finding the information on their own.
Yeah. Self-education, right? That's what it's been. There's been way too much self-education. People making decisions on their own with just what's in front of them and really diving down to somebody who has years of experience, right? You've been a loan officer for 10, 15 years. Yeah, you're way more of a resource than some, you know, generic websites that's throwing out some arbitrary stats and, you know, some rates that's like not realistic. It's just to draw you in. No, that's the deal, man. It's like, when you look at it, like you just said, it's like, personally, I think loan officers' commission on loans should be a little bit higher because there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of moving parts. And like, you know, back in the day, maybe agents with their 2.5 or 3% commission was justifiable. But now it's like, you kind of don't even really have to do much, right? Your buyers are looking up homes on their own.
Yeah.
They don't need this big old book. You don't need to drive them around. You're like, hey, you want to go see this one? Cool. Right. Hey, I could just go film it. I'll just go to the house. It's fine. I'll just go film it and just send it to you. Be like, all right, cool. There's like, it's different. Just this environment's a little bit different. Like, when there's too much information, there's too much self-education. It detaches you from your clients, right? So it's like, you really have to then increase output and outreach to these individuals because that detachment happens so abruptly. I mean, the self-education thing is, you know, the average homeowner ends up in 4.7 different databases during that lifespan. Like if a homeowner goes to Zillow right now and asks for information on their home, they're routed up to 9 agents. Every one of those realtors has their own preferred loan officer. So it's really like, it needs to be granular, and it really need to, like, here's the thing. I mentioned the realtors that I spoke to. There was one that was my personal favorite. I love this dude. Absolute grinder, just monster realtor, pumping out massive units, no assistant, no marketing. This dude is just relationship king. So we played golf with him, right? And the guy pumps out like $250 million a year on his own. And I go, hey, what do you attribute to your success? We're in the golf cart. The reason why I asked that is because he shows up 4 minutes before the tee time. So he's trunked to tee. I go, hey, nice for you to show up, buddy. He goes, oh, sorry, I closed this $17 million listing this morning. I go, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, no problem, sir. And then halfway through, it's like pulls out his phone, he gets a text message, and he's like, oh, cool, I just got a $3 million listing right now. I go, made me ask him, what do you attribute to your success? And he goes, honestly, here's the deal. He goes, I pick 10 people every single day in my database. I just interact with them, call them, text them, see how they're doing, take a personal interest in their life. I don't talk about real estate or nothing. I just see how they are. Whatever it is, how's life, how's everything, just checking in, just wanted to touch base with you, hope you're well, right? Hope everything's going well with your house, blah, 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 blah. Every single day, 10 people. And that's what I do. He goes, that's where my business comes from. I don't spend any money on marketing. He's like, I have your guys' website. That's the only money that I'm spending. And I spend money on virtual tours on my higher ticket item homes. But, it's just kind of a wide range. I'll do, sell a $500,000 house and I'll sell a $20 million house. It just really depends. But he goes, this is what's happening. And I go, everybody can do that. Doesn't take much time. It's really easy. And he's like, I tell everybody in our office to do it and they just don't do it. And I go, okay, then it's just like, yeah, get out of your own way. And then for a month, just try it for a month. Pretend that you don't have automation. Pretend that you don't have a CRM and these drip campaigns, whatever. And just pretend that you went back in time a little bit and just connect with the client and just see what the effect of that. Because even if they're not going to sell, even if the predictive analytics and their activity report is like all signs point to yes, but you talk to somebody, they're like, nah, hey, we've already dug our graves in the backyard. We have our tombstones ready. We're just going to live it out. We're dying here. This is it. I go, okay. But did you just have a conversation with a client? Is there any negative to having a meaningful conversation with somebody that you serviced at one point? No. Because what if one of their family members, what if a friend is thinking about refinancing or buying a house? Do you have the best chance of getting that business? Because that conversation has the longest lasting effect. So I just I'm on that level. You don't need our product to do that. I just want to give people this insight because it's man, I've collected so much on both sides of the fence. Really successful loan officers, really successful realtors, and then, people that are just struggling because they can't get out of their own way, but they're terrified of having a conversation with their client. With why? You spoke to that one point. I go, if you look at your past clients like future leads, it's going to change your mindset. It's going to change your approach. But it's you look at, you did a loan in September, right? Let's say the rate was 7%. And October, they didn't pay. November, they started paying. So November, December, January, February, March, April, 6 months in. What's the rule on refis, right? What have you been sending to that client to ensure that they're going to choose you when that happens? Because every loan officer that I've ever spoke to, I asked them, have you ever missed out on a refi? I go, yeah. I go, why? Or what did they say? Did you ask them? They go, yeah, I didn't know that you did that. If your clients say that, your marketing fails you. You failed yourself on not conveying that to that individual, and you have to take blame on that. But everything that you're sending to a client that's a past client needs to be, what's the next thing that they're going to do? You need to, because if you got a refi lead today that purchased a home in January or March, let's say, March, let's do March. So they've asked, I got a line you got on there. Whatever you're sending to that person over the next 4 months, 3 months, whatever it might be, is very specific to the next thing that they're going to do. You're going to market to that person like the lead that they are. But a buyer that actually closed with you in September, you're marketing to them. If it's just past client marketing, hey, I appreciate your referrals, and here's an article, and here's a newsletter, and here's a blog post, and whatever it might, and if it's just trying to get referrals from them and not their future business, you have to change that. Treat a past client like a future lead. It's just a matter of time, because you see, you're okay, here's my database of everybody. These people bought a year ago. All right. So their rate's cool. So they don't need to really do a cash out, but maybe a HELOC is an option for them. Let's take a look at hey, what is their, the type of house that they bought? What was their down payment? Okay. Well, these are my homeowners that bought something that was affordable. It wasn't exactly what they wanted. So this is going to be more of an abrupt time frame. But the next thing that they're going to do is probably get something that's better. A condo or townhome, that's a very expedited time frame, unless it's an investment property that's a rental. But if it's their own, yeah, it's very sped up. Single family that with 3% down, that's a very specific time frame. 10%, a little bit longer. That was more of a choice. 20% was absolutely a choice. And I go, so you need to break everything down and market to these people exactly what they are and what the next thing that they're going to do. to give you the best chance of it, so that like you are the concierge and you're going to guide them through this journey, right? Because that's going to help shape those relationships and make you more valuable to that person, because you're guiding them down that path. And it's a very identified path, so that they don't go and self-educate. Because if a client who did purchase in September 7% cannot wait for rates to go down, and they've absolutely Googled this, they've absolutely numerous times have thought about this, every single time that they pay their mortgage, probably thinking about it. What have you sent to them to guarantee that they know that you can lower their rate and you're going to be the one that's going to single-handedly save them money every single month? Is that message fully conveyed? Have they opened that enough times? Have you maybe spoke to them or sent them a text message, hey, I'm on top of this. I just want you to know that I'm on top of this. Starting to see some things going in the right direction, whatever it is, but making sure that there's no doubt that this person is going to utilize you the next go round, because it's that loyalty, right? Like let's say people that shop rates, you have 7.01%, 6.99%. The loyalty is going to forego the 2/100ths of a point, right? Or whatever it might be. But if you have no loyalty, then it's just rate shop, rate shop, rate shop. And some people are willing to like miss out on whatever it might be, but it's like that intrinsic loyalty that you need to create. It will help reduce the rate shopping that is going to be happening.
Your system has a certain level of predictive analytics built into it, right? So to define that, predictive analytics is a set of data points that's studied over time to help you identify the customers in your database that are most likely going to be making a financial or mortgage decision soon.
Yeah.
And so
based off of kind of like what's happening in that environment, and then this individual, and then with the pixelation on the report and how these predictive analytics are dynamic. And so they will change through usage and repeat visits and all this type of stuff. So since 2020, we predicted 72% of the homes that have sold in the US. So they're accurate enough to and should have your undivided attention. But there's also 28% of the time that they're incorrect. So to rely solely on them as the reason for your output, no, because you're going to have somebody who sells and it says 10% likelihood in the system, but you have social situations that occur, right? You have a motivated seller. What's a motivated seller? So socially, death, divorce, and relocation, you cannot predict. So it's impossible. But you can control your relationship with that person. So if something goes sideways, they're reaching out to still the appropriate individual, right? But then you have motivated in terms of moving out of the area, right? So you have they bought their home as an investment. Now it's time to sell. They hate their neighbors. They're, underwater. They're relocating, those are like motivated factors that, are a little bit more contained. Except for the relocation one, right? Like that one is typically, those are kind of like high loss scenarios. But again, it's relationship stuff. But when you're saying is like, you have a client who bought a house 3 years ago. What size was it, right? What was their down payment? Did they refinance? Did they do any home improvements? Have you found out if they've done any home improvements? Is it in the same exact condition? What's the next thing that this person's going to do? You have to find this out so that you can shape the way that you approach it. That's why these conversations are so important. So when these reports go out, right? We have a monthly report that's automated. It goes out. It's high open rate. We have around 84%, right? So you're like, okay, we're going to rely on that. It's like that digital touch. It's automated. It's, it's hyper personal. You don't just rely on that, right? But if you want to have a conversation with a client, like use the opens that they've looked at it. You're like, this person looked at this thing. Or like, okay, I'm going to call this guy. Say, hey, Michael, how's everything, man? Hey, I see that you've been getting the report. Just wanted to, congratulate you on your equity growth. That's awesome. And wanted to see if you had any questions, about the industry in itself. Like I know the whole value's in there and it's showing your equity, but all of those things are relatively subjective because, if you've done home improvements, those numbers change. Or if you're thinking about doing it, those numbers change. But just letting you know that we're here for you. And if you ever have any questions about, what the market's doing right now and if you have any uncertainties and what the next step is, keep me posted. What you didn't say anything, but you said everything.
Right.
Because I'm here to guide you down this path. I'm to make sure that whatever your next decision is and whatever that might be, that I'm going to be a part of it. Well, okay. Well, that's relationship. That's what you can control. It all circles back to that. I think people just have relied so heavily on this digital touch, this digital veil. But, it's funny as not. You look at CRMs. How important on a scale from 1 to 10 is a CRM for any professional? And it's a 10. Oddly enough, collectively, CRMs, their email open rates are around 5%. Let's give it 10, let's say 10% just to for solidarity here. So 10% of the time they work and 90% of the time they fail. But yet it's the most important tool in your system, right? So it's CRMs are a source of business and control and organization, but that open rate has caused repeat business to tank. You have 67% of the time a loan officer misses out on repeat business. After a 4-year period, an agent has 9% chance of repeat business. But yet we're all using a CRM because they're all relying on that digital touch, and that's not enough.
Yeah.
You've you dehumanize your clients and you send them nothing but cold, sterile things. And that's not a source of a relationship. That's a source of information and trying to be top of mind when what you provide is no different than somebody else. It's a service. So it's not like you're the only person that can do a loan or sell somebody a home, right? But what makes them choose you is that relationship. Everything always circles back to the relationship. The better relationships you have, the more referrals you're going to get. Better relationships you have, the more repeat business you're going to get. It's that's what you can control. So forget about technology for a minute. Just call some clients. I swear to you, I just it's the craziest thing. It's dude, we're at 2023. Be if you pretended that you just didn't have the internet, be what the hell are you going to do? You better reach out to somebody. You better have some conversations. That's the only thing that you got in the bag. And that is if you look at your referrals and where they're coming from, rate your relationship with those people. You're okay, I work off of referrals. The people that are referring to me are these people. Then you rate it. You're what is my relationship with Michael Neef? I go, well, we're a 7. Know each other. We communicate. Good guy. We've had some lunch together. Maybe we play golf. We're we're a 7. All right. You go down the list. You're all right. So all of my referrals are above a 5. And all of these people are below a 5. I go, so I want more business. Then I could probably make these people above a 5. You could see it. It's physically in front of you. You're if you want more business, make the people in your database your friend. In some degree, be friendly with them. Check in with them. See how they're doing. Because at one point, they trusted you to perform a service that was their biggest choice in life, the source of a majority of their net worth, and trusted in you and your team of underwriters. And then since that point, you've had a few exchanges, and that's about it. So on their end, you're oh, I market to my clients all the time. And if I were to ask your clients, hey, when's the last time you heard from Michael? I haven't heard from that dude in a year. I go, it's on that end. So it's okay, well, after a year, that degradation takes hold. You're no longer viable. You're no longer a source of information. They've educated themselves numerous times. The average homeowner visits, the average, 85% of homeowners have a Zillow profile, and there's 1.8 million repeat visits per week. So self-education is absolutely happening. So it's you got to step up. You got to make sure that these people have heard from you, regardless of technology. There's great products out there, right? There's, list reports and HomeBot, right? Those are great products. You have Pre-Approve Me, great product. You got LLSs and you got, Total Expert. Everybody, there's all these CRMs and Jungo and Bonzo and everything. They all exist. But they all can only get you so far, right? But it's here we go. Top of mind awareness is cool, and tracking and monitoring and information. That's only to a certain point. But you have to, you kind of have to take it to the next, to from that point on, it's like, it's on you. It's on you if you reach out to your clients. It's on you if you speak to them. You can't automate that. You can't. You can't. So it's like, even if you don't have those things, it's like, yeah, but you can still do this. It doesn't cost you any money to send a text message. It's not 1998 where you get charged per text. It's like, they're free. Heck then, how you doing? Super easy. Write an email, copy it, and send it to 10 people. Make it engaging, make it warm, see if they respond, and then just check in with them. And you were the most memorable person, that individual, for the next 3 days on that text message. If you have a phone call with them, the next 37 days, you were the most memorable person that they know in the space. So you have 6 phone calls every other month with the client, just checking in. How much time does that take you? And you're like, all right, you've covered a numerous portion of the year. Spanned, how much time, if any, during that time frame, they speak to somebody that is thinking about buying a house, thinking about doing some home improvements, you've given yourself the best chance of getting a referral from that individual. And when this person is in that bubble of purchasing a home, yeah, you have the best chance of their repeat business, because that loyalty is leaning in your direction. Like, you are still a source of income, and it's like, not a source of information. So that source of information is, hey, I look at a house that's perfect. Based off of this report that I've been getting, it says that I have $250,000 in equity. What's our house payment going to be? Can we afford this thing? All right, yeah, let's go take a look at it. You're a portion of that, because that instant gratification needs to happen. You're just a portion of it, right? They want to see inside, but they also want to know if they can sort. But it's like, one of your clients asked a realtor that's a listing agent, oh yeah, can we take a look at this? Well, this agent has never said, well, who sold your house to you 3 years ago? How come we didn't reach out to them? Well, let's look them up and see who they are. You forgot their info? Yeah, we'll just look them up, and I'll just text you their phone number so you can call the agent that sold your house 3 years ago. Oh, you have a loan on this house, right? So it's going to be a contingent? Gotcha. Well, who's your loan officer? Well, what company are they with? Well, let's look them up. It's like, no. Right. Oh, I got you. I also have a loan officer for you. We're good. It's that fast. It's done. And I go, okay, well then, relationship. That's it.
Yep. I can't believe that when I was doing loans full time, how many times I would, talk to a client or a realtor. Even some real estate agents that I considered friends would do loans for this, or help a joint past customer buy another house, and we use a different lender. And it had nothing to do with my experience with that borrower, and simply to do with the convenience and how they got back into the process through something online like Zillow, and they clicked the button, they got sucked into a lead funnel. A loan officer talked to them. The loan officer said, do you have a realtor? They go, oh yeah, I do. And then that realtor didn't care enough, because they were worried about them closing the deal. Yeah. They didn't care enough about me to force the issue. And in one specific occasion, that realtor was initially referred to the borrower from me.
Yeah, super cool, right?
It's amazing.
It's baffling. That's the stuff I'm talking about. It's like, you have your agent partners, great, but it's like, don't rely on them for your repeat business. Rely on them for future business, but not repeat. Repeat you. That you don't entrust in their marketing to bring you repeat business, because it fails so often. Right. But it's like, that's what you got to get. Yeah. You got a new lead. Cool. I'm here. But let me control my repeat business.
It is in your control, right? Like you said, so like you mentioned that high producer, 250 million a year, is calling 10 people a day. Might take him an hour, might take him 2 hours. If he reaches them. Yeah. He's probably getting a lot of voicemails.
Right. But for somebody to make that much money and to simply do that, and you would think like, oh, this guy always has all these, spend a bunch of money on things. These are the most remedial thing that you could absolutely do as a human being, is that is remedial. Yeah. That is zero tech. Minus the text message, I guess, we can go back. But it's like, that's new tech. There's none of it. It's just like, that is so ridiculous. And I go, if it's that basic, then everybody could do that. There's like, if you don't have any money right now, you have not had a transaction. I understand. I know that things got a little crazy, and it put a huge damper on stuff, and it caused people to put on the brakes and freak out and uncertainty and paranoia, whatever it might be. But you definitely have a cell phone, and you definitely have some phone numbers, and you definitely have a client list that you could absolutely reach out to. And if you have nothing going on right now, then you could absolutely do that for yourself, because some of those people might not even remember your name. There you go. We have an opportunity to remind them that you're still around and just wanted to check in with them and see how they're doing. Nothing crazy. Doesn't have to be anything specific. Just, hey, I did your loan for you a few years ago. I just wanted to call and say hi and hope that you're well. Hope everything's going well with your house. And if you picked up some equity, congratulations. That makes me very happy. Just it. Super personal. Nothing insane. You could absolutely do that. It'll cost you no money. And that is the most effective thing that you can do for your marketing, because that has the longest lasting effect. So you can drum up all these ideas about social media posts and all this stuff. You can sit there and record some dumbass choreographed thing for TikTok. And if you're thinking in that direction and you don't just pick up the phone and call a client and just see how they are, that doesn't cost you any money. And that will have the most effective outcome for you.
And you're not saying that you can't also do stupid TikTok dance.
No, but if that's what you're sitting around like, all right, I want to grow my audience. And okay, the majority of the people that have TikTok are legitimately 13 years old. So I don't believe that a 13-year-old is going to make you much money. So let's put not so much attention into like your dance moves, and all this stuff, and lip syncing, whatever. I mean, I don't know what the kids are doing these days, but that's like wild to me. But you're like, yeah, I have 250 past clients, right? I got a 200, I got 150, whatever it is. Like, that would take me a week to get through these people. But just, how the hell are you? How's life? How's everything? Just, it doesn't cost any money. Like, I'm not even sitting here pandering our product. I'm telling you, like, I know a dude that makes $5 million a year in real estate, like, single-handedly. It's a monster. And he does this. And it's like, then what's your problem? You should absolutely do it.
But don't you, I mean, I know, right, as a parent myself, is I always go to my 13-year-old and ask for financial advice.
Yes.
And they tell me that Tawd is the best dancing mortgage advisor on TikTok.
Yeah. It's because I put a lot of glitter on. And I think that's the thing, is, and I look like a human fishing lure, and it just kind of stands out. I don't know, man. I just like this. The social media stuff to me drives me nuts. I think people, it's still sterile, right? It's like visibly sterile still. It's not personal. I just really think that the affinity to people, like, I think of my realtor buddy because we communicate and we laugh and we joke, right? Like, I think about it. Like, I want him to do well. Like, I physically know this dude and I want him to succeed in life. Same thing with my loans. I want this dude to do well. And whatever I can do at any given point, if I talk to somebody in life, that I'm going to refer them these people because I want them to do well. That's just how it goes. And it's like, well, that's what you can control, because those guys have controlled that with me. They've made sure that I have a relationship with them. It was inadvertent because we're buddies, but they've controlled that. I go, okay. It's just like, just stop it. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's become so sterile. And I think I think it's at this point, it needs to go back in time. It really does.
It's relationships, and that's the big difference.
Yeah.
And most loan officers, most salespeople, not loan officers, salespeople, it's transactional. It's chasing your next deal, the one that's in front of you. It's prospecting the leads you're generating through online marketing, and it's churn and burn, and it's short-sighted.
Yeah.
And even if, like, you think you're good at doing the marketing, the follow-up, I'll tell you what, the open rates of emails so low. CRMs are garbage.
Yeah.
They don't care about your stuff. They don't care about it. They don't care about your generic rate updates. They get rate updates from everybody. They can see it online. They're at every single banner ad they can see.
What I'm saying, it's like, it's so weird. It's like going through the motions, right? It's like, okay, we're just gonna like send some stuff out, and I'm gonna focus on this. This is gonna make me money right now. And then everybody else is like, and then like time goes by. And yeah, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. It's like, I just walk away from anything. It's treat your past clients like future leads, and then talk to them in an appropriate manner to make sure that you're guiding them down this path so that their next decision is in your favor. Make them feel loyal to you, right? so that if they have a conversation with somebody, they have the best chance of getting that referral. If they're looking at a house that's perfect, they have the best chance of getting that loan because they're not reaching out to the wrong people. That's what you can control. I can't like just no technology required. Now, if you want some technology, like you and I can have a conversation, right? My HomeIQ, fantastic. But if you don't have any money right now, it's like, no, listen, do that. Do that. Please do that for yourself. Do yourself a favor. You have a list of people you've closed. Friggin' call them. Call them and just say hi. So, all right. We've spent a long time on this. I apologize. I'm a chatterbox, my friend.
No, it's all good. Hey, I love the passion, and it's a good message, right? Especially today when people are struggling with production and finding, how are they going to bring business in? You all have cell phones. You can pick up the phone. Everyone's information. You've got your past clients' info. You can call a real estate agent. What a novel idea. Call them and just have a conversation. Love it. Tawd, appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Look with everything.
Guys, if you want more information about HomeIQ, check them out. The website this is your job.
myhomeIQ.com.
As somebody who's used the service in the past, personally, it is very good. It's not going to solve all your problems. It's not going to cook you Thanksgiving dinner, but it is going to get you closer to bringing a unique value proposition to your customers and to open the door for a conversation, a new unique conversation for realtor partners. Yeah. So it is also integrated with Pre-Approve Me.
Yes.
So,
let's just drop this bombs on here, you guys. Efficient.
Yeah.
Easy to use. Affordable. All those things. All right. Appreciate you, man. You have a hell of a rest of the week.
You too. Take care.